Hi Shopify developer, welcome to another video. In this video I will be talking about how you can deploy the official Shopify Remix template over Cloudflare Worker, because it's not an easy migration process to make it deployable over Cloudflare Worker as virtual or deploying in a virtual machine over DigitalOcean, AWS or GCP. The process is different for Cloudflare Worker, and this video will be helpful for you if you are looking to deploy your Shopify Premix app over Cloudflare Worker using Prisma and PostgreSQL for session storage and database. So let's go back to the screen and I will show you how you can do it. So let's get started. The first thing that we need is the Shopify official Remix template. And first of all, before doing that, let's check out the final product. So currently we have a Cloudflare Worker deployed, which is a Shopify app, and it's using Prisma with PostgreSQL session. As you can see here, we can generate product, and it's currently generating the product create mutation. As you can see here, this is the name of the product, and it's pointing to our Shopify Cloudflare Worker.eds.worker.dev. And let's log into our dashboard and you will see that. So this is the Shopify Cloudflare Worker, and it's currently working as we expected. So in this tutorial we'll be using the Shopify Remix template from Shopify. We will be using Prisma Accelerate to be able to deploy Prisma over the edge, and I will be using Neo to be able to host my PostgreSQL database over the cloud. And just keep in mind there is some limitation using Cloudflare, and you will need to modify the code to be able to work exactly for Cloudflare Worker. Just keep that in mind. So whenever you would like to migrate from Cloudflare to other provider, there will be some work to do to be able to migrate over other platform, because it's not just plug and play as you will do in a virtual machine setup. For example, if you deploy it over DigitalOcean Droplet or AWS or GCP virtual machine, you will need to do some specific stuff for the platform to be able to get it working as expected. So just keep in mind there is some limitation of migrating and deploying over Cloudflare Worker. Just I would like to flag this so you are aware of this. So let's get started. The first thing is, so let's go to my dev environment and let's clone this stuff. I will call it Shopify Cloudflare app, and let's just run it. npm install. Okay, the npm install has been done. Let's npm run dev, and I will choose the organization. I will create a new app. I will call it Cloudflare Worker app, and I will be using this one as a test. So this will link our Shopify app over our Shopify partner account. So it's currently working as expected. Let's install it. So that's pretty good. So let's shut down the server and let's open up our project in Visual Studio Code, and I will start doing the migration to be able to make it compatible with Cloudflare. So the first thing that I will do, I will install some package that we need. The first one is Wrangler, which is what we'll be using to deploy over Cloudflare Worker. It's the CLI tool from Cloudflare. You will get this error because there is some conflict between Remix and this Wrangler version, because when we are using this version, when we are using the latest version, not like at the next version, we are getting this bug. So this bug is from this package. So in the Shopify app Remix package when they are trying to be able to import the polarized English translation with type of JSON, and this Wrangler version doesn't support that. So this is the released one, and it should be addressed in the v4, which is not in release. So we just need to use the next label to be able to get working. And to get it working with our stuff, we need to add the legacy per dependency flag over our install command. Also, we need npm remix run / Cloudflare, and we'll be using Prisma XLH in this case. So instead of having to do this many times, so we can just go to our npm.ls file and add this flag. So we don't need to do this flag every time. Also, we will need the Cloudflare worker type, so we will be adding that as a dev dependency. That's good. So we have all the required package that we need for this setup. So the first thing that I will update is the db.server.ts. So instead of using Prisma client from Prisma /client, I will update that, and I will be using that from /edge. We will be using the Prisma accelerate extension, and in this case I will be removing the stuff and updating. So I initialize a Prisma. So in this case this was a variable, but in this case it's a function that will accept database URL, and we will init a Prisma client using the data source, which is the db URL that we'll be getting from the request context, because in the Cloudflare worker you can only access the environment variable during the fetch request. So wherever you would like to make a request, you can get the environment variable that you need. So currently we need to be able to get the database URL, so we make some adjustment, and also we need to add some file that we need to be able to get this working. So the next thing is will be to add load context.ts. All the code that I mentioned will be in the description. It will be a GitHub link in the description below, so you can just go there and copy paste all the code that I will be showing in the screen right now. So what we done here, we are importing the type platform proxy from Wrangler. We are defining the type for the environment because I will need them to on each request. So we are defining API for Shopify API secret, app URL, database URL for the Prisma, and the scope. This is the context argument. It's the request. So the request is the remix request, and currently we'll be having an extra in the loader and the action, which is the context in the function. So we can use that to be able to get the environment variable from that. We are also defining the model for the remix run / Cloudflare, and we are having exporting a function to it to get the load context in the Vite configuration. So to be able to get rid of this error, we need to go to our TS configuration. So I will add in the type for remix Cloudflare in the ts config file, and it should get rid of that error, as you can see right now. So the next thing is I will be updating the vite.config.ts. So the first thing, I will import Cloudflare dev proxy Vite client, and also import the get load index from the file that we just created. And over the plugins, we can just init this function, and this function should pass the get load as an argument. So currently the Vite is set up. Also we will need to add some argument in the configuration, so to be able to resolve the condition. So this is the stuff that I found online. I will leave all the resources I use for this tutorial over the description of this video. And let's create the server.ts file, which will be the main file to be able to point to our worker that will be responsible to pass and create that layer that will connect our Remix app with the Cloudflare worker. So this is the server ts.file, because I will not go over the detail of this file, but we are importing the create request handle. We are importing all the build that we will get in from the npm run build to be able to get all the server stuff, and we are getting the context, and we are using it along with the fetch request. This is the main request that we'll be using from Cloudflare worker, and we are getting the context and we are passing it to the remix handler. For the request, we are passing the request and the context that later on I will show you how you can use it to get the environment variable for this setup. And we have an issue with the cannot find environment, so we need to create worker dash configuration.d.ts. This will be generated by Wrangler, but I will create it either way, and it will create the interface environment. As you can see here, it does stop the typing error. So we create the server ts that will be the main file handling the request getting from Cloudflare worker to our Remix app. After that, I will create Wrangler.json file. You can either create it as a toml or JSON. I prefer JSON. And you can have this information. This is the name of the Cloudflare worker. Let's call it Cloudflare worker v2, or let's call it app. We have the Cloudflare API compatibility date. We have the main, which is pointing to our server.ts that we just created. The asset, this is the asset that will be built. This is mostly the client asset. Observability is true, so we will get the logs. We will upload in the source map, so I make it to disable, and the compatibility flag. So we are using the Node.js compact to be able to get the Node.js runtime working in this case, because we are using Node.js. And let's go to our package.json and let's add a script. And the script, I will call it publish, because deploy has been taken by Shopify deploy. So let's it will be, I will run the build, and after that Wrangler deploy. So that's good. So when we are running this npm run publish, it will run the build and deploy our stuff over Cloudflare worker. And also I will be creating a GitHub workflow, so just stick to the video and you will see that in the end. So that's good. And let's go to our Prisma. So we need to do some modification to schema. So currently we are using SQLite, but I don't think people will be using that in production. So let's update the stuff. So we'll be using PostgreSQL for this case. Let's update the database source. The provider will be PostgreSQL. The URL will be the database. This one, it will be the Prisma Accelerate connection URL, and this one, it will be the Neo database URL that will be pointing directly to our database. And the session will be the same, because I am switching to PostgreSQL from SQLite. The one thing that I will need to do is the expire should be converted from timestamp. That's the only thing that I will change in the migration. So let's go over the entry.server.tsx and make some modification there. So we'll be updating this entry.server.tsx file to be able to get it working with Cloudflare worker. And this is the problem that we need to change some core file in our Remix app to be able to get it working exactly with Cloudflare worker. So which might be we will need to stick with Cloudflare worker, and it will be maybe hard for us to switch to another provider later on. This is just to keep that in mind. This is the code. I will be leaving it in the repo, so just you can copy and paste it. And we are using the npm run Cloudflare adapter or package in this case to be able to get the Remix server up and running. I will not go over the detail of the modification, and I will leave the source that I use for getting all the information that I use in this tutorial. So currently we have the Wrangler JSON file set up, we have update the Vite.configuration, we have the server, we have the load context, we update our schema to be able to get it working with the PostgreSQL over the edge. We are updating the entry.server, we are updating the database connection. And if we go to our Shopify.server, as you can see here, so currently we are using Prisma session storage. So currently, as you can see, we need to provide the database URL, and also Cloudflare will not have access to the process.env because it does use other formats. So the format for the environment variable will be not .env file but .dev.var. This file that will have the environment variable, and we can only access the environment variable over the context object that we specify here. If you remember, we are specifying here, so we need to go context cloudflare.env. I will get all the environment variable here. So in this case, I will convert it to a function, and the function will accept upload context, and this upload context will return the Shopify app, and I will remove all of this. So let's have it as a type, and here instead of process.environment it will be context dot cloudflare dot environment dot shopify dot API key. And here for the Prisma session storage, I will be passing the database URL, so it will be context.env.database URL. So that's the only thing that I will be updating. And because I convert this stuff from a variable to function, I will need to update it over this stuff. So here in the auth route, I will be updating this stuff. Let's export it instead of the default. So I will import Shopify, and here I will be using the context. So instead of auth, it will be Shopify context dot authenticate. So let's update us over all of the stuff that we are using Shopify. So here it will be Shopify, the context, and let's go here. So the final product will be in a GitHub repo, so you can just get it there if you don't want to watch the full video. Let's update over the webhook handler. So it's that authenticate dot stuff. Also this one, because we need to provide context .cloudflare.environment.database. It's similar here. Shopify function, and let's use the context, and here context dot Cloudflare environment.database. And we forgot one thing, which is this one. Let's run, and it will be using also the context. So it will be Shopify context dot login, and let's run npm run publish. So it's currently uploading all the asset over Cloudflare Worker, which is good. But we might run into issue with Prisma specifically, but let's see what the result will be. So currently it's deployed, and we are getting the worker file. We are getting an error because we don't define the environment variable over the Cloudflare, and let's do that right now. So let's go to our pages and worker, and let's go over worker and environment variable. The first thing, it's a secret, it's the database URL, which will be Prisma Accelerate to make your database global. I'm not sure if this is the optimal way of doing this, but this is the way that I found it to get it working with Cloudflare Worker, according to this article that I read using Prisma Cloudflare from hono.dev. So we need to provide our database. So let's go to connect, overview, connect, show password, and let's paste it here. Okay, let's enable accelerate. It's currently enabled, so let's generate an API key, and we are having the database URL. So let's copy paste it. Let's copy only the value, and paste it here. Deploy, and the second thing is we'll be copying the new PostgreSQL database, will be acting as direct URL, which is mostly for database migration. And let's click on deploy, and we will need the other environment which we defined here. We need the API key. Let's go to our apps, Cloudflare Workers, API access. And this one, which is the secret or the token. This will be a secret. And let's add the Shopify app URL. This one, it will be plain text, which is the one that we are getting here. Let's go back and deploy. The only thing missing is the scope. Scope, it will be right product, and deploy it. Okay, that's good. Let's add a workflow to be able to deploy this stuff over Cloudflare Worker. So I will add deploy.yaml, and this deploy.yaml will have a job to be able to deploy the stuff. It will be using Node version 20. It will install the dependency. So that's npm install, or we can use CI. Just need to update the get ignore and include the log file, and it will build the Remix application and deploy it to Cloudflare using the API token. So let's first of all create the repo. So the repo, which will be Shopify dash app template remix Cloudflare worker. It will be public one. Let's go to the settings. I will go to secret and variable action. I will go over my Cloudflare account, go to the profile, API token. I will create an API token, use this template. Let's include my account, all the zone, and create the token. So you can modify the permission there, and for me, let's call it new repository, and it should be called Cloudflare API token. So let's go here, get remote remove origin, get remote add origin, and let's make it compatible to deploy over Cloudflare Worker, and publish it. Let's go here, because it's the first initial commit, nothing will be there. Let's go to our route index and update the heading, and let's call it Shopify Remix app with Cloudflare Worker. And let's update content. And this should be trigger the function, so it's currently deploying. So everything is currently updated, as you can see here right now, but we are still having this application error. I made a mistake here. For instead of calling database.url, I made a cheapo mistake here, which is keep the app from running as expected. And also one thing with this Cloudflare deploy function, it does override our environment variable. We need to add our plain text environment variable in the JSON configuration. It will be something like this. So here it will be Shopify dash app dash URL, and we will have scopes, which will be in this case right product. And let's go back here and get the URL, which is this one. And that's good. Let's add var to Wrangler config, and this should add the configuration when it's deploying to our Cloudflare worker. So let's go back here to the actions. It's currently deploying. Let's wait like a couple of seconds. So it's currently uploading, which is good. And as you can see here, we have the var that we specify. So technically, if we will go here and we view our Cloudflare worker app, it's currently working as expected. So all the content that we modified. So the only thing that currently we need is to update the Shopify app URL. So let's go back here to the configuration, to our Cloudflare worker, and update that to match the Cloudflare worker stuff. That's good. Let's go here to overview and let's click on install on a test store. Maybe we'll be using this one for this time. And click on install. So it's currently working as expected. So it's our Cloudflare worker app. Let's go to the new dashboard so we can see the table for that, for the session that we have. So this one, I have it from the previous install, and this one, it's currently the one that we just installed the app on it, as you can see right now. We can double check, we can delete all the record, and we can just click or refresh, and it will load the new session. As you can see here, we have the new session with the scope right product. It's offline session, so we can generate products currently. And there's a problem with this generate product from the official Remix app that I'm not sure what the issue behind it. Instead of using the fetcher hook, I will be using the forum hook instead. I'm not sure what the problem is. So it will be the method, it will be post and reload the document. Instead of using the fetcher, I will be use action data and just remove this generate product button from here, and let's import all of the function that we need. It will be using navigation and using action data. The title bar, we don't need that. It will be action data, and here instead it will be using the submit. So it will be submit, so action data. If someone knows what the reason behind this issue, just let me know in the comment section. And here let's make it, and here let's replace the ID so it will be loading the correct part. So update generate product. It should be updated in a matter of seconds. So it's currently deployed. Let's go back here and let's refresh the page and click on generate the products, and it could be generated the mutation that we see right now. As you can tell, it's not the perfect solution, but it's currently, you can try to fix the issue, because I'm not sure what the issue exactly is for this function to not be working using the fetcher. Also, I tried the submit, it doesn't work. So I'm not sure why, if it's like a specific to the Cloudflare implementation. So that's it for this video. I hope you will find this useful, and thank you so much for watching until the end.